Hi everyone, my name is Ava and I'm an American living in the Netherlands. And I wanted to talk to you about culture shocks that I still have even after living in the Netherlands for a few years at this point. Starting with number one, if you are not, this is a warning to all international people, if you are not specifically invited to lunch or dinner at a Dutch person's place, do not expect said lunch or dinner. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes when you go over to someone's place that you may not spontaneously choose to do so, or they may not spontaneously invite you, but that happens really very rarely. So sometimes people might invite you over to their place at 12:30 and you think, oh, 12:30 p.m., that's lunchtime, so we're gonna have lunch together. My friends, then you're in for a rude awakening because you may go there at 12:30 fully expecting to have lunch at their place or even maybe go out to lunch together, but don't be surprised if they've eaten already and then you are left there to starve. This has happened to me, so I'm speaking from experience.
And this holds for if you invite a Dutch person to your home as well. If you don't agree whether you're gonna eat together or not, they might show up having eaten already. And that's not very gezellig.
Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I do not know why that is, because I find Dutch people to be pretty friendly, like in their own way, and warm. But I don't know why it's the case that, they're a bit, I would say, stingy, thrifty with food, or maybe that's not the case at all. So if you are Dutch, feel free to let me know in the comments down below why that is. And I would say that sometimes I get the sense that this may be a stressful thing for Dutch people, like in their busy day that they have fully planned out. If they have to think about providing food for you, maybe that's additional stress, and that's why sometimes they just invite you over casually without food. So something to keep in mind. Number two, Dutch people seem to be really confused about directions if you describe them as like north or south, east and west. Like as an American, I get made fun of all the time for saying something like, oh, why don't we head a little northeast from here to get to like so-and-so's place? Or if I have to describe someone's house, I would say, oh, it's like west of so-and-so. For whatever reason, Dutch people seem to not be able to comprehend that. And I think that comes from my experience as an American with the grid system. Here, the grid system obviously does not exist. And my friends, while I love the cute, windy, unpredictable streets of the Netherlands, I will say that I miss how easy it is to navigate yourself, like to figure out directions in the US. Like it's basically impossible to get lost in Manhattan, for example. Speaking of which, where am I? Where am I going?
In the Netherlands, if you were to ask for directions, you wouldn't have a Dutch person say, go south on the street and then head east. That's very American. Instead, they might actually tell you to go right or left and then give you landmarks like left at the church. And they may tell you a street name, but that name won't mean much unless you know where it is. Also, these Dutch street names can be wild for English speakers. Thank goodness we all have our phones now to look up directions, right? But wait a second, what if you're traveling abroad and don't have internet connection? That has happened to me before and it is not a great situation to be in. So let me share a tip with you so that you never have to be in that situation. This video is sponsored by Saily, NordVPN's eSIM product. If this is your first time hearing about an eSIM, it is about to change the way you travel. So instead of a physical SIM, it is a SIM that you can activate digitally. So welcome to 2024. Now an eSIM like Saily is great because you don't have to pay exorbitant roaming fees or have to go through the hassle of buying a local SIM. The last time I went to the US, I spent so much money using my Dutch plan. The Dutch folks watching right now would be so ashamed of me if you knew how much I spent. So learn from my mistakes. Okay, so how do you use Saily? Well, step one, you buy a plan for the country you're visiting. I'm gonna go ahead and select the Netherlands. And here you can see how affordable the plans are. I mean, you could be good to go for $4. That's less than what I often pay for a cappuccino. Anyway, if you buy the plan on the website, you'll need to download the app and you can just install Saily on your phone and activate it even before you leave. That's amazing because then you'll be connected to the local network from the moment you land. And everything I mentioned just gets even better because I have a 15% discount for you if you use the code Americano at checkout. You can download the Saily app or go to saily.com/Americano to check out Saily today. And even if you're not going on a trip soon, still make a note of Saily to use the next time you travel to ensure that you're connected no matter where you go. Anyway, now back to the video. And next on the list is smoking. Dutch people smoke way more than Americans.
In the US, smoking is really dying out, but here in the Netherlands, somehow it is more alive than ever. And I'm not just talking about what I've seen in my own personal friend group, but just what I've seen all around me and from what I've heard. Okay, and I'm still not used to this, and especially now that my wife is pregnant, it can be really annoying when someone is smoking close to us, or close to her rather. We were recently on holiday in Spain, and it was actually kind of interesting because there were signs all around saying that you weren't allowed to smoke next to people who were pregnant, and I thought that was really cool. We both did. And oh my god, this weather, by the way, it's really nice out, but it's just, I can't tell when it's going to be cloudy or sunny, so you're going to be seeing a lot of sunglasses on and off shots.
So here in the Netherlands, you can actually see that smoking is a popular habit by the ashtrays on tables outdoors at cafes or restaurants. In the US, you'll rarely see that, but in the Netherlands, that's fairly common.
And what I find interesting is that related to this, amongst the younger folks here, vaping is actually really common. So that has only exacerbated this habit. So they don't really smoke cigarettes, they vape because that's cool. Now, related to smoking is drinking. And let's start by talking about something that I have been able to get used to very quickly.
And that is the number of alcohol-free beer, wine, etc. options here in the Netherlands.
I absolutely love this.
I've also heard that some places in Utrecht now do non-alcoholic beer on tap.
I'm not someone who is so health conscious that I don't drink alcohol at all. I wish. Life goals, but I think it's kind of nice to have these alcohol-free options that actually taste really good. I mean, alcohol-free beer sometimes, I think, for some brands are better than their normal variants. So it's just nice to have a choice so that you don't always have to order the alcoholic option, especially on a nice sunny day like this. All two of them.
And I also like that you can have a nice time with friends drinking wine or beer in a park. That's not legal here per se in very many places, but it is legally tolerated. So you'll see very many people doing that, and that is so gezellig.
And if you're not done with your drink or you just want to bring one on the way, then you may. And that's called a BVO here in the Netherlands, a BVO'tje, as the Dutch would say. And that's a bier voor onderweg, a beer to bring with you on your way.
Okay, and all of that is fine until people start drinking on the train. I don't know why, but I find that really disruptive. And even though I grew up in New York City, okay, where the subway is really something, drinking on the train still makes me feel a bit wary, especially after like a football game or something, because people can be quite unpredictable.
And we have the reservation culture. If you want to go out, you have to make a reservation here. Now, I know some of you watching might be thinking, Ava, isn't that just something that's left over from COVID and the pandemic? No, this was the case long before then.
I moved to the Netherlands right before the pandemic, and I've spent a lot of summers here before then, and I can tell you that reservation culture was already a thing. I know that my wife and I were so used to how things worked in the US that in the beginning in Amsterdam, where we first moved to, we would try to go to a restaurant spontaneously, and then our options were easily cut in half.
Especially the more popular places. And then we moved to Utrecht, and it was even worse. So a tip for those of you who come to the Netherlands and you want to go out to dinner or to a museum, etc., just to make a reservation. Because Dutch people don't do spontaneity. They fill up their calendars to the point where they have to schedule in bathroom breaks even. That was a joke, for the record. Okay, now we're gonna talk about something that has been bothering me for some time now, and that is the whole process behind getting your driver's license here in the Netherlands. Now, some of you who've seen my other videos might know that I'm working on getting my driver's license here. No, I didn't have one before, and that's because I'm from New York and I always lived in big cities, okay? So I didn't feel the need for it until now. And I'm working on it, and it is taking forever. As an American, if you look up getting your driver's license here in the Netherlands, a few things will stick out to you. One, the theory exam isn't as easy as the one in the US. I've taken the theory exam in the US before, and that was a breeze. I didn't even need to study. And the book for it is really more of a booklet. It's super easy, but here in the Netherlands, not only is it difficult, it's actually quite tricky. Like, the whole exam is filled with trick questions. So I've done that, and I'm proud of myself because it was one of the hardest exams I've ever had to take in my life, and that's saying something. But the real culture shock, and something that still confuses me, is the fact that you can't just practice with an experienced driver in a car in a parking lot, an empty parking lot. No, you need an official driving school with an official driver's instructor driving with you at all times. At all times. Like, do you know how expensive that is?
Actually, I can tell you exactly how expensive that is. In the Netherlands, according to some sources, it costs on average over 3,000 euros to get your driver's license. Now, these figures are from last year, and best believe that in 2024, those numbers have gone up. In contrast, in the US, you are not going to take nearly as many driving lessons, so the cost is going to be about a few $100s.
And that, my friends, is the biggest culture shock, how expensive it is just to get your license here. Like, it almost costs as much as a cheap car to get your driver's license. How is that a thing? How is that allowed in a country like this? As you can tell, I'm getting a bit grumpy about this because it's taking me so long, because the driving school you work with, they get to decide when you do the practical exam. You can't really just, do 5 practical exams and work it out yourself. Like, they have to schedule it for you. And that's a whole process in and of itself. So as you can tell, my patience has worn out a little bit, but wish me luck. I'm gonna be more positive about this, I promise. So those are some culture shocks that I still experience as an American living here in the Netherlands. As usual, I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time.